the Air Force needs to define toxic leadership, experts say. So this one got added kind of late. I read through it, and I don't know. We'll talk about it here in a second. So it says from 2016 to 19, Brigadier General Jeff Holbert was in charge of investigating non-criminal misconduct by senior Air Force officials. But he had a problem. He noticed that subordinates often knew their leaders were doing something wrong, but there was no language in Air Force standards to characterize it. It's a challenge for someone who believes they're being mistreated, but doesn't know how to articulate it. The general's now retired. It's also been a challenge to investigate something where there is no standard. So how do you measure whether or not the alleged thing happens? So I don't know. Mover, did you read through this? It's kind of long, but he just kind of goes through and tries to define, what is toxic leadership. I mean, I think it's great that it's been brought to light. Toxic leadership exists. I mean, obviously we have a lot of good leaders in the DoD, but here the official Air Force definition does not have to be the same. They wrote, but there would be at least 3 benefits to creating one. So protect subordinates and whistleblowers, provide a standard for peers, enhance accountability and rehabilitation. And then, can it be done? So toxic leadership's nothing new. It's, it's been in our military for as long as the military has probably been in existence. So, and obviously there's a lot of styles in it's kind of a long article, but he talks about, hey, it's a bit of a fine line. What is toxic leadership or somebody just complaining, right? I get it. Or what is toxic leadership? It could just be that your commander is super motivated, wants to be the best command in the wing or whatever. I get it. Dude, at the end of the day, it's super, like the guy that wrote this article, I don't think he gets it. I think, dude, there is an extremely easy way to tell if a person assigned in a leadership position is a leader. And all you have to do, go to any social event and just watch. You go to squadron ready room. When the skipper walks in, if everybody stays there, hangs out, hands him his beer mug, drinks, having a good time, that's a good leader. If people start looking at their watches, slam their beer, peace out, got a problem. So it's mover's got it. Don't be a douche.
That's
and
Deuce.
If you're
Deuce says that.
Deuce. Sorry, Deuce. Don't be a douche, because if you are, if you happen to be a leader and wherever you show up, the room empties and you find yourself alone, you're probably a toxic leader for some reason. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's, I see stuff like this. I'm like, we need to form a committee of leaders to evaluate if leaders are toxic. It's like, no, it's way simpler than that, man. So, don't be a douche. I think is pretty self-explanatory. And, you can go to any command and see. I don't know. Am I crazy? Mover, Casmo?
So no, it's the shit like that's the blind leading the blind. Asking leaders what other leaders are toxic. Right. Like it's real simple. Just like you said, you touched on it. Ask the subordinates what they think and do these surveys and then actually read the surveys. I had a leader that I will define as toxic, and I can give you lots of reasons why. But when he finally got kicked out of the unit and I read through some of the surveys that I'd never seen before, but I was able to look at them, it was funny how many times the same shit was mentioned about this person and no one acted on it. And then we're surprised. Oh, I can't believe it. I don't understand. Like the information's out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, Casmo, you touched on a good point about command climate surveys. That's a thing in the Air Force.
I know.
Well, so we did one for a very toxic leader in Florida, and he got massacred, like beyond belief. There was not a single positive comment, and nothing happens. Nothing happens because nobody takes it seriously. And the problem that you run into actually goes back to our recruiting and retention problem. The people, and this is not a blanket statement. This is a lot of the people that end up in these positions are because there was nobody left. It's not because they were like, you are our leader. You're going to lead us into combat. We'd follow you, the gates of hell. It's because no one wanted to do the BS that it took to get there. And the ones that did do the BS that it took to get there, you didn't want in that position. Because if you go through the wickets, the papers, the stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with your job, because it's, at least from the Air Force perspective, and I think the Navy's kind of done this a little bit too with PME, they have gone, well, we think we know what makes a good leader. He has to be well-rounded, so he has to read these papers written by other terrible leaders. And so you get this very circular, well, this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way it's always been, and nobody listens. Everybody is in this send-only mode, and there's no receive. And the only real way to fix it is to have a mindset of servant leadership, where it's about the people that you're taking care of, because you realize you're the head coach and your job is to get out of their way so they can go play the game. And until people realize that, it's going to be this constant fight where you get these people like we had in Florida, where you get an ego-driven person that shows up day one and he's like, today's the day that I'm going to show you you're a bunch of entitled reservists, and we're just going to make, I'm going to make your life miserable. Well, that person is now protected at every level above him, because that's how he got to that position. That's how he made 06. You don't get there just because you're a good person. They've got the little secret committees, and, they've already had their little gaggle, their powwow. They've picked their winners. And as long as that is happening, you're not going to fix it. Now, the other piece to this, the toxic leadership reporting, I think people don't understand the avenues that they have to report toxic leadership. And I think that actually, I don't think the avenues are good enough, because usually when people say, hey, I've got this toxic leader, they think, where am I going to go? They go, I'm going to go to the IG, Inspector General. I'm going to go report this to the IG. Well, guess what? That's a command issue. Command is the one that deals with it, not the IG. The IG, unless it's reprisal or restriction, doesn't, on the Air Force side. I don't know about, I'm sure it's the same, because we all go to the same school. I think it's the same
across.
Yeah, we all go to the same, IG school. So unless it's reprisal or restriction, it's not an IG matter. So it goes to command. So it gets referred back to the people that, it goes one above. Well, guess what? The one above is the one that put that person in the position in the first place.
Right.
So and then it goes one above that if you appeal it. Well, guess what? That person, they have the whole command philosophy with this is, I trust my commanders. You will hear that a million times from people at the top, from the 1, 2, 3 star level. They'll go, I trust my commanders. Well, the problem with that is when you have a bad commander, no one fixes it. And that just permeates all the way down. One bad commander can ruin up and down both ways. And you just can't fix it unless you have leaders that are willing to listen to subordinates and take care of their subordinates. And until we fix the promotion process, I don't know how you fix it overall.
Yeah, man, I remember that survey. I remember, like, specifically, I was doing all the keyword searches, I was going in the safety magazines, I'm like, dude, like, if it, like, this is going to cause, like, somebody's going to read this. And like you said, nothing ever happened, man. It was, and you get the nail on the head. We've talked about before, they circle the wagons, right? Because if you got one bad leader, the dude above him doesn't want to look like, well, I can't fire him. My God, I put him
there. Yeah, right. I'm the one who selected him.
I'm terrible on me.
The guy that I was talking about, when he finally got pulled out of command, the word from people who had known him for years that were above him said, we were wondering when that was going to happen. What do you mean you were wondering when that was going to happen? You knew, and you helped. You put him in this position.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's nobody left. I mean, the situation in Florida, the guy who got put in that position, it wasn't because, he's our rock star. It was because, well, we don't want this guy because he is a douchebag. We know he's a douchebag. This guy is the least objectionable person that we can put in who's qualified to be an 06. That's all it took. Like it wasn't like, because it was like, we have no one else. And if we don't have anybody else, that position's unfilled. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, typically at these higher levels of leadership, you're talking about beyond 20 years, right? So, you got your smart people that at the first opportunity to get out, they're like, no mission focus. I'm out of here. And then you got your types that are like, I'm just going to claw my way to 20, that are smart, good people, leaders. And that, they occupy leadership levels, hit 20 years and they're done. But there's, the higher command stuff is beyond 20, right? And the pool, I think, gets super small beyond 20 years. like you said, Mover, there's no one left, and it's like musical chairs. It's like, well, these are the only 4 we got. You know?
Even when you get somebody good, they're muted.
Yeah,
because they can't. So I know a 2-star that is a absolute awesome person, and when something bad had happened, he's like, I can't get involved because that it affects them personally, right? Even though I think the best leaders are the ones that are like, I don't care what happens, I'm going to fall on my sword, I'm going to make this right. But people, when people are told stay in your lane, because that's just the system protects itself. It's the mafia. You end up with the horse head in your bed if you do the right thing. So
I do probably probably one of the best I've been very lucky. I've had a lot of good leaders, but probably one of the best ones I had. He was independently wealthy, and he did not care. And by far the best. It ruined his career because he stood up for his guys. Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, service before self, and the higher you go, you don't see it.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't care how good of a dude you are, like, you just don't see it.
Well, it's because of the indoctrination. I mean, the system, the level of pain you have to go through to get to that, it becomes the sunk cost theory, because you can't let go. It's just like quitting an airline job. You're like, well, I've got all the seniority, I can't leave now. I can't torpedo it at this point.
Well, they look for that. That's one of the qualities of promotion.
Stick it out.
No, that's one of the qualities of promotion. It's like, will this guy toe the line?
Here's the fear I have, though. I mean, that's great. It's affecting retention. That's bad. People are leaving. What was the saying at our old place? People don't leave bad jobs. They leave bad bosses.
Yeah. It's true.
So it's affecting retention, but also I think it's affecting our ability to think outside the container, because if we get into a shooting conflict where people are actually dying, we have not inspired and trained people to think outside of the tactical situation, like the Doolittles and the stuff that you need in a world war, where it's like, we have to be innovative, and we have to not be robots. And dude, that's what worries me, is we're losing that innovative leadership spirit.
But those guys present themselves like, if you look at leadership in World War II, why was it that so many of our top generals were very young dudes? They weren't generals when it started.
That's
right.
Valid.
The dudes
you're right.
who couldn't deal, they quickly were put aside. It's in these times where you don't really need that. That's when those guys excel, because you're right. Because the dudes that want to do the job, they're not doing the job. They want to get out to go do something else. The other dudes stay. And I don't like that blanket statement, because there's a lot of good people that stay, and they fight the good fight, and they stay the course. But I think that's what ends up happening in those situations. And that's why for us in the beginning of any major conflict, we kind of get, kind of beat up on, and then it takes time for us to catch our breath and get the right people in the right places and the right equipment. And then we go forth and do stuff.
Yeah.